Howdy, I'm Matt and I'm on the way to the desk. Let's go and have a stand. Quick one, just quick audio check, just to make sure the audio's fine. Now, with that said, if you're on the live version, if you can let me know, that'd be great. With that said, my name's Matt. Welcome to this live unboxing of the ZOHD Nano... No, it's not a Nano Talon. Sorry, I've just been reading my notes. It's the Dart little wing. Now, you'll see me sat here just playing with the iPad. You'll also notice we've got a different setup again. So we've got the comments, your comments. So if you're joining watching this live, you can join in with the chat. I'm just loading up the chat right now on the iPad so I can see what you're saying. And of course, any comments or questions which you've got as we're going along, please just ask, because I'd love for you to get involved, and you can do that in the live version. Now, if you're watching the recorded version, don't forget in the comments section underneath this video, ask any questions or comments you like. Because, an important note, and I like to get this one in early, this model was bought out of my own money for my own abuses. It wasn't a freebie for a review. So if it's good, it will stay. If it's not so good, it may find a new home. Hey ho. So with that said, a good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to everybody who's on the live version. Again, you can see what's going on in the chat on the left-hand side. I'm looking down here at the iPad. Give you also a heads up as well. I do have the overhead camera going this time. Which hopefully is going to work out right. And I'm just going to pop on the other light to see if that cheers things up down here, because it's not that bright down in this side. So yeah, the white balance is going to be a bit off. I'm going to dim that down a touch. There we go. Right, what do we know about the little ZOHD Talon? Sorry, the ZOHD Dart. And I keep having to check the box, and it's my bad. I was lusting over the Nano Talon earlier. Well, as many of you know, it's one of my favourite little models of all time now. Absolutely brilliant. A penguin with birthday flags. What an off going on there. And thanks for letting me know the chat's great. Okay, getting on to topic. This is a forward swept wing model. Now, this comes into... there's several positive sides to a forward swept wing. I've got some notes in here. The number one is distinctive. Okay, let's go past the there are some more technical pieces, but the real cool one is that it just looks cool because it's got a forward swept wing. It's unusual in the sky. That does bring some definite benefits when it comes to orientation, i.e. you can actually work out very quickly which way the model is up and which way it's going. And I'm sure the many pilots out there will probably agree or may admit to getting disorientated at times. I know it happens to myself. A model like this, because of its weird wing structure, with the wings being swept forwards, is going to make it definitely easier to spot in the sky. And again, this is quite a small model, so something like that is actually going to be a big feature of this one. Now, before we go any further, it is worth pointing out, because we do have forward swept wings, is that this model is going to be very, very sensitive in the roll. So if you want to spin left or right, the ailerons are going to be very, very sensitive. However, you still need full deflection on your elevator or in your elevator control. So just be aware of that from straight out of the box, something which I've learned with similar models. Now, this one could be classed as... it's the same kind of design as two other models which spring to mind. Number one, the CUDA, stick CUDA, C-U-D-A, into the Googler, and you'll see a fantastic looking model. Very, very cool indeed. The more recent version, which I've got down there, which is the Mini Drac by Right Wing. Absolute corking model. And this is just basically a baby version of the kind of similar format as those models which have been come before it. And of course, there's a collection of other models who have a similar format which are coming out now. I'm sure the list goes on. So yeah, I like the format because right now, because of the forward swept wings will help with orientation, which, to be honest, makes no difference at all if you're flying FPV, really, except for because of the forward swept wings, instead of the airflow coming off the wingtips like you would normally expect on a wing, what actually happens with a forward swept wing, the air comes into the middle of the body of the model, and that helps it track and also makes the stall, basically you can go more vertical with less speed, if that makes sense. I need to get that right. With less speed, and the stalls will be a little bit more predictable. However, there is a downside to forward swept wings, is that when it does stall, okay, and this is something which I'm going to be testing out, is that when it does stall, it can be difficult to recover it. Okay, so something which you need to be aware of, and just face it, in normal situations, you're not going to cause your model to stall, but it's something which I'll be looking out for, and we'll do that in the later video. So let's have a quick look. Just saw Uncle Fester's comment. Anybody, you can see the chat which is going on there. Must be a Banggood thing. Bent wings, absolutely. Joe says sweat wings, less stall on turns, absolutely. All the flying things, I agree with you totally. This plane does look weird. It does look weird, but it also, on the flip side, it does look cool. And I want to give you a little heads up. I have actually already been in here, and there's one thing which I really like about it, which I wasn't expecting, and there's one thing which I don't like about it already. So it's going to be very curious on there. Ricky says, Matt, please put some foam underneath your microphone. It's like an earthquake. I do apologise. I couldn't find the foam. I'll tell you what, I'll stand it on that reel and see if that is any better. And I'll try not to slam my cup down or my hands on the desk. So I do apologise about that. So Ricky, thank you, fella. Goofy, just unbox it. Just fuck off, in short. My channel, my rules, so please leave, to be brutally honest, and you can see the chat going on there. I did want to cover some of the history beforehand, so I make no apologies for discussing why a forward swept wing would perhaps be of interest to you. So I hope for most of you that you found that informative, and if you haven't, just click back and get out of here. To be brutally honest. So we're quickly going again, just focusing on your chat, Amo. Hey, my mini salon working with an AZ32 Rev 2, blimey. I blew up the F4, so waiting for a replacement. Uncle Fester, I knackered one of my F4 boards a couple of days ago. Really annoying, I know. I just know how you feel, basically, in short. Let's have a quick look. Again, what you do, model, please be clear on special tin around. Absolutely, right. So apologies for dumping the coffee on there, on the sponge on there. Anyway, like I said, let's get it open and take a look. Now, I have actually got some components out here because a review in the next couple of days, once I get around to recording it, I'll give you my final verdicts on that Reptile S670 camera, model, which is not good, to be brutally honest, and it won't be a very good review of the model. It does fly very well. Keep that in the back of your mind. So if you've got one of these coming on the way to you, you'll like it. Okay. If you don't have one going on the way to you, perhaps hold off and choose a slightly different model. Remember, it is a fantastic time for us as RC modelers at the moment because we are very, very much spoilt with foam. As such, it's our choice. Okay, and it really is a buyer's market at the moment when it comes to foam. So, with that said, well packed. It turned up via, not DPD, DHL this morning. The guy actually gave me a ring to say he was on his way, which was a bit weird. So that was happy days. So yeah, he rang to say he was on his way. He rang when he got here. No import tax to my knowledge on it. Well packed. And again, you can see it's got a bit of foam around it, decent sized box. It does come with some instructions. The one bit which I'm looking for in the instructions, I'll tell you what, I'll just pop in, as soon as we got the camera there so you can see. That's what you get as far as instructions. We must not forget to talk about the stabilizer which comes in this wing. I've had so many questions left on this channel. I will get around to do a separate video on this. But it seems to confuse people, and it doesn't need to be confusing. So we'll chat about the stabilizer in a few moments as well. That's a bit weird. Oh, and we get the spar as well. So let's get the box out of the way, and let's get this thing put together. Now, it is going to be a very, very quick build. As far as there's no point doing a build video on this one at all. And those of you, again, you can see what's going on above my head. As far as the build goes, is that we're kind of doing it right now, as in that it's click in, pop the spar in, and then it's going to be FPV and radio equipment to go in short. So let's get this, put this in. So yeah, that's kind of looking like the build time. Believe it or not. So there you go. That was the build. pretty much, of the ZOHD darts. Now I'm going to pop that up on the screen, so up above, so you can kind of get an idea. Do note, remember what I was saying about the airflow. So normally when a wing's that way round, so if you look above there, normally when a wing's that way round, the air rushes off to the ends, and then that's what you can get tip stalls. And then I'm sure you've had it where one of your wings has just ducked on you. Maybe you've had your wing maybe a little bit tail heavy, and it just drops the one of the wings down on the side for you. Whereas in this way round, the stall doesn't happen on the wingtip. The stall happens in here, in the center of the model. Thus, it's more predictable. However, inversely, again, we'll test this out on the flight line, is that if you do make it stall, it can be a little bit more unpredictable to get it out of the stall afterwards. So that's, like I said, that's something which I'll be testing out on purpose to see what happens. Now, there was one thing which I did mention. Well, there was two things. One thing which I was surprised about, because I've been told something different, and also somewhat disappointed by another thing. Okay, so what's the one thing which I liked out of this box, and what's the one thing which I didn't like, is number one is that I was led to believe that this wing was a hollow wing construction, and putting that up here against the light, which you'll have to take my word for it, with the ZOHD Orbit wing, which is down there in a box, is that this wing had lots of air pockets in it and some black foam underneath, which made it a very lightweight wing. Okay, so if you are concerned about weight, that would have been a good model for you. Whereas this one, and I was led to believe that this one was going to be the same construction, which, to be honest, was a bit of a concern, because it is not the toughest of constructions. But so at least what they've been and done, this is a solid wing construction. It's molded EPP, okay, but it's not as dense as the EPP as perhaps what we're used to. Something like the Reptile S670 or the S800, I could smash this on the desk and it would be fine. Okay, if I smash this on the desk, it won't be as fine. So that's why I'm not doing it. Remember, I bought this model out of my own money, so I don't want to bash it around too much. One very simple mod for you. Get some sellotape, and again you can see it above my head. Put some sellotape, just fold some sellotape over the leading edge. That will keep your leading edge of the wing a lot nicer, and also saves you perhaps something to laminate the wing as well. So a quick look. Now, that was the positive. I was surprised. Like I said, I've been led to believe that this was a hollow wing construction. It's not that, so that's definitely a positive. That's a thumbs up for me. However, the one downside, which I'll need to take that spar out a moment, I can pop that spar back in there, is that they have gone for a horrible little connector. That's the only way which I can phrase that. So hopefully that's coming out on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. Okay, so there's the little connector, and again I'll ask you what you think of your views on that in a moment. Is that there's the connector inside the wing. Okay, it's going to be curious on how well that connection stands up over time. What I would personally have preferred to have seen, and I'm sure this is going to be okay for the short term, but longer term, I would be concerned over that connection lasting. Again, just knowing my flying style, hitting a tree or two is going to knock this wing around. This wing is going to get knocks like that. And again, if you can see that on the screen, it is going to get knocks like that. And if you do clip a branch, for example, whereas perhaps a normal wing, you would carry on flying with it, this one, you could be severely disabled if the wing does come unclipped. And those clips are not that strong. So I can already tell you, I will be putting a layer of sellotape, as you can see on the screen here, a layer of sellotape down this edge, and of course on the bottom as well. It's a practice which I've done with the Nano Talon to hold the wings on. That does mean that if I do clip a branch or a tree or something like that, I do stand a higher chance of ripping off part of the wing. But crucially, I do stand on the flip side, I do stand a much better chance of being able to fly out of it and get the model home, most likely in one piece. Okay, so let's quickly look at your chat as well. let's have a quick look. I don't know where Spoodle's got gloves from. Again, you can see that in the chat. Apologies, I've not been keeping a complete eye on the chat. As far as glue is required, none. Obviously, you could glue these parts together. If you were going to glue all these parts together, I would strongly suggest that you solder up your own servo lead and manually put a wire into the center of the model, okay? Because if you did break this later, it would be very awkward, especially if you glued that in there. So that's the one mod I'd probably do if you were going to glue the wings on. I'm only going to go for sellotape on mine to begin with. Let's take a quick look at the fuselage. Now you'll be able to see. Jeff, I like your thinking. So as you may have just seen in the chat, Jeff has suggested, just a thought, mount it as a tractor and see if it flies backwards. We'll see. I'm making no promises. Let's have a look in the fuselage. Now, actually, I'm immediately thinking, are we going to be able to fit some 1.3 3S packs in there? I hope we are. I didn't actually pay much attention to the CG. It's a forward swept wing, so CG is probably about here. Hopefully, well, let's see what else we got in there a second. Hopefully we've got some markings on the bottom of the wings. Now, I am going to pause to do this on purpose, just to show you this, because it's something which I do on all my models, and for the love of whatever, I cannot find some pins. Aha! I spotted some pins in the leg of that Magnum Reloaded. So apologies for me squeezing around the screen. Right, CG. Just going to stick a pin in there. There we go. I'll show you on the camera in a moment once I've stuck it in, and I'll show you what I've been and done. There we go. So can you see up there where my thumb is? Just there. There's one of those little cheap pins. You can buy like 1 million of them for £1 from a pound shop. And I've got 2 pins in there. Now what that now means is that when I want to check the CG of the model, I can immediately tell that's tail heavy. Let's just quickly stick a battery in the front, like so. And now I can tell you that I'm definitely nose heavy. And you can do that just because you've got 2 pins in there. It does make things an awful lot easier when managing especially a majority of different models from the flight line. It does come with a little 60-30 propeller. Yeah, 6x3 propeller. You only get 1 propeller, which is a bit of a downer, to say the least. So if you're going to go for the Dart, make sure you buy some extra propellers. So saying that, I've not broken the propeller on my Nano Talon, and I've flown that an awful lot. But on the back end of a Nano Talon, you've got a bottom fin. I'll get it and I'll show you. It's probably the easiest way to explain it. Is that on the back end of a Nano Talon, you do have a V-tail, and you also got the bottom fin. So the propeller is very unlikely to touch the ground. So that's the Nano Talon. If you have a look on the V-tail, you'll see that the propeller there is very unlikely to go and hit the ground. I'll pop that one out of the way. Whereas this one, there's nothing underneath it at all. So chances are much higher for you to hit that on the bottom. Oh, one thing which I will show you on the camera, according to the Banggood description, is that motor was supposed to be an 1806 2000 kV motor, and it's turned up with a 2006 24,000 kV, 2400 kV motor. Yeah, that wasn't expected. It's come with a circle of something, which I assume is to help protect the FPV camera. It's the only circle which I can see on the camera. Now, when it comes to the setup, is that, let me click on there a moment. Right. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that on that board in there. And if I put that the wrong way round, yes, I put that the wrong way round for you. Let me put it round this way. So let me just pop that up on there, wherever they are. So that this wing does come with a flight stabilizer board. Now, just be aware, I did buy the plug and play kit because I wanted to see what the overall package was going to be like. But you can buy this as a kit. That does mean that you won't get the servos and you won't get the motor, and you won't get the I'm not going to say flight controller, because a flight controller gives many more features, and if you'd like to know what a flight controller is and what it does, look on the YouTube channel and for the series on iNav, which is fantastic free software or firmware which can do much more than just keep a model stabilized. Anyway, on the previous models, like the Nano Talon, which we saw a few moments ago, and the ZOHD Wing, there were 3 modes which comes on this board. You have stabilize, no, gets right. You have launch mode. So what that does is provide some up in the elevons to help with launch. In other words, it's going to go up into the sky. You have off, which was the middle setting, and then you have stabilize mode, which, to be frankly honest, worked quite well. When we made in the Nano Talon, it was really quite a windy day, and that model was getting chucked around a lot. And clicking that stabilizer on there really did take the edge off the model itself. So the only negative which I can say about the stabilizer in here is that you have no way of changing the settings, being able to increase the gain or decrease the gain, as the case may be. One thing which you might not know is that that little port section, again, I'm just going to pop that on the camera, there's a little white plug in there on top of that board, and you can put a Spectrum satellite into that connection. Let's have a quick look. Per Birch says, perfect for the F4 Nano. Per, you would be able to fit a full-size flight controller board in there. That's for sure. Yeah, without a doubt, you would be able to fit a full-size flight controller in there. Now, obviously, if you do have perhaps like Per knows the other boards which I've got here. I've got a little 20 by 20 little flight controller, one of the F4 boards. That would, of course, save you a few grams in here as well. But yes, it will take both types, that's for sure. Right, let's get on. The one, like I was saying, about the stabilizer. Now, there isn't anything like complicated about the stabilizer at all. You just need to read what it says on the actual stabilizer. So with that said, we got black and red, so that's positive and negative. And then we've got aileron in. So on my setup for my Tyrannus, I always have, I use tear, but with an A. So I have throttle, ailerons, elevator, rudder. So channel 2 for me, I'm going to plug that into a D4R2, like so. And the reason why I'm putting that one in there is because channel 2 is for my ailerons. Okay, so again, just reading the wires on here. The blue one is elevator in, so that's going to be channel 3. We've then got throttle, which is yellow, so that's going to be channel 1. Now, this model, of course, it's a flying wing, so we don't have any rudder, so that we can use mode in, which is this green one, and then I'm going to put that on channel 4. So what I'll do with channel 4 is set that up as a three-way switch. So on the Tyrannus, so on here, so you see the Tyrannus on the screen. So I'll set most likely this switch as having, so that will be launch mode, off, stabilize. So that's what I would expect it to do. And of course, what I'm going to go on and do is tuck that in and get the antennas to go down the fuselage of the body, or down the fuselage of the model. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to poke that in there for now. As far as FPV goes, I will be using, okay, and again, I've put the details of what I'm going to be using in the video description for you. Oh yeah, for absolute clarity, all of the links which are in the video description are affiliate links. So if you use any of those links, you will be supporting this YouTube channel, something which I like to be 100% clear about. Okay, keep that in the back of your mind. Coming back to the parts, Ishin 526 video transmitter, switchable, very cool. I like it. Someone did say that they hate, again, a very popular YouTube channel said they hated pressing the buttons on them. For me, with flying wings, unlike in a quadcopter, which that potentially could be a pain in the rear, in a flying wing, it's dead simple because you pretty much always got access to your video transmitter because you never put something which gets hot, normally in somewhere where you don't get a lot of airflow. So I would personally like to be mounting this one on the top of the wing, as you can see here, just for maximum airflow. And again, this one's got a 90-degree connector on it, which I'd take off. So yeah, video transmitter on the lid here somewhere. probably with a cable tie restraint just to make sure it stays on there. For the camera itself, I will be using, again, these are my favorites at the moment. That is a Runcam Swift Mini. Very, very small little cameras. Again, just as good as the normal Swift cameras. Do go for the PAL version because you get a bigger screen resolution on there. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be, yeah. I'll pop that up on the camera up there so you can see. And again, you can see that's just been sat in there like a, well, like a peach. It's gone in there perfectly. Again, you can see there on the nose, it's gone in there really, really well. So just a tiny little bit of hot glue and you're away. So yeah, build time for this model, and I know it's the plug and play kit, is not very long. If I was to carry on, I'd probably spend 5-10 minutes just making sure the video transmitter was sat in there well. I would want to put a little bit of Velcro in there for the receiver. I would need to put the propeller on the end as well, and of course just make sure to hot glue the camera in as well. And I've got a little wiring loom sat down here, again ready to go for a 3S battery. And yeah, what are we going to call it? 40 minutes all in, if that. And again, I'm being a bit over generous with the time there. It's not going to be a complex build at all. The two mods which I would do right now to this one: sellotape along the joins. Again, we spoke about those earlier. Sellotape along those joins on the top and the bottom, and also sellotape along the leading edge. And the other little mod is so simple. I just put pins in the CG mark so that me and you, of course, can then just check on the flight line, put our fingers underneath and go, oh, pants with tail heavy, with nose heavy, and we know what needs to get done. So let's have a quick look. Steve says, what control gear do you use in this model? So as far as RC, that's a remote control, I use the D4R2 receiver, again, so I use FR Sky, so Tyrannus. The Tyrannus is absolutely fantastic. If I broke mine, I would buy another one tomorrow. They are really, really good transmitters. If you're on a budget, the QX7 is basically exactly the same stuff, minus a couple of switches. Basically, you don't have the side sliders, which of course you could mod one of your switches to put side sliders on there if you want, because you can buy the parts separately. As far as video goes is Ishin 526 video transmitters, definitely my favourite for FPV. Iomaway antennas, that's the blue ones. Normally I've got red ones. There's a pair on my desk which I'll be using for this one. And Runcam Mini 2. Runcam Mini Swift. Get me words right for that one. Very, very cool little FPV camera. And again, it's my favourite one at the moment. It doesn't have like a snazzy on-screen display or anything like that. Generally, if I want the on-screen display, then I want more details like a flight timer, an idea on current, and battery and voltages as well. Okay, so I'd use something like a hub OSD board to provide that to me. So with that said, let's have a quick look. E6000 glue. No, I won't be gluing this one. I will only be sellotaping this one. Obviously, if I was to accidentally hit a tree and it broke something on there, I would most likely use E6000 glue, as Roddy's been mentioned in there in the chat. Let's have a quick look. Right, Jeff, that sounds like a handful. Yeah, Keith, you're not the only one. I could definitely do with a Texas winter as well. We had our first frost of the year here in Bristolia, and everything was white out there this morning. So winter is definitely on its way. Just on a practical point of view, this wing will break down into a couple of small pieces. If you had the inclination to pop this in a backpack, it would break down very, very easily, and also very, very quickly, assuming that you're not put any tape on there. That's the kind of package it will break down into, as you can see on there. And again, just putting it, you saw me as we were unboxing it, putting it together. It didn't take very long at all. And again, of course, the receiver is right in the way of yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? It's nothing quite like doing stuff live. The receiver is right in the way there, So obviously you wouldn't have that issue with placement once that had been placed in there correctly. Again, putting it together, really straightforward. All you're going to do is just stuff the wings in the holes, like so, which is a bit odd because it's on a, because the wings are forward swept, it's a bit weird to begin with. So I have struggled with that, but once they go on fine, and that's me because I've put them in the wrong places. Not in time. Well, I don't think these winglets or these little, those top winglets are going to go anywhere. But again, to be honest, they're going to receive a little layer of tape on them just to make sure that they stay put and don't come off during flight. There is a decent magnet on there, unconfessed before or after the tree. All the flying wings, would a D4R or XSR be better? Again, just looking at your comments, you can see the comments being spoken at the moment. No, you need a 4-channel receiver for this wing. Okay, so remember the settings which we add on here. We need throttle, we need ailerons and elevator. Okay, and you need the extra channel to turn the mode switch on. Okay, so to go through the different flight modes, stabilized modes as well. Evening Jazzy, by the way. Jeff says pocket size, absolutely. It's looking at your chat. Right, it is time for me to wrap up. I'm just having a quick look on there. Yeah, I think I've covered everything which I'd like to cover today. If you have any questions about the Nano Talon, please, again, I'm going to wrap up in a few moments' time, so please just ask in the comments section underneath this video. Again, I am just going to stress that I did buy this wing out of my own money for my own abuses. If you're new here, don't forget to press the subscribe button underneath this video where it says Matthew Ogborn. I'm Matt, by the way. Howdy. Press the red button. Hit the bell icon on the right hand side if you want YouTube to notify you. And I'm sure we'll get this one out and making it very, very shortly. It's got a 2000 kV motor with a 6x3 prop. It's not going to be like stupidly loud, but I am expecting it to be louder than, well, about normal or less actually for my models, but it is going to have a little bit of raspiness to it. Setup time, like I said, it fell out of the box. You can stick it together in moments, and the only time which you're really going to invest to begin with is, like I said, I'm going to put some sellotape on the wings, and I've got to make sure I set it up in the model. So yeah, 30-40 minutes setup time I think is not bad. There's nothing complicated about this model at all. It does kind of look the part. It's not very big at all. Again, that could be a positive for you. So for maybe carrying the model to your flying site, which is always a big concern for me. It could be, again, it's got a distinctive, we put that up like so on there. Imagine that in the sky. You always know which orientation this model is in. So because of the forward swept wings. There is a negative, which might be negative for you, but it's definitely a possible positive for me. I like small, skitty models. This wing with the forward swept wing on it, it's going to be a handful of fun, okay? So I'm expecting this one to be rather skitty. If you prefer something more relaxing or perhaps laid back, then maybe the Dart isn't going to be the choice for you. So yeah, it's a curious one, and again, it's also going to be curious later to see what they've done with the motor mount on the back. I would assume that is a standard motor mounting mechanism which they've been used down here for the motor. One oddity which I did notice with the ZOHD, which is also known as Sonic model, it's the same company, it's just two different brands of the same thing basically. What I did notice on the Sonic model F1 wing is that, and I don't know why they did this, the mount on the back was actually turned by 90 degrees, and the motor which they were using had also been turned by 90 degrees on the mounts on the bottom. So if you put a different motor on the back, you actually had cables hanging out the side and then bending around the bottom. It was very peculiar what they'd been and done there. But yeah, definitely if you wanted to, you could change this motor, you could overpower it, you could underpower it. Again, with a model this light, you do have a lot of options available to you. And the last thing, which I didn't actually check, which I am going to just quickly check on here, was around the battery. Again, I've got a load of these 1.3 A-spec batteries, that is definitely going to be a squeeze. Ah, they've put a little recess in there. Cunning. Right, let me bend that in there. Right, it will fit with a little bit of persuasion. And I'm guessing, again, rough setup, we're missing a propeller on the back. Yeah, we are definitely, again, you can see it on there. We are definitely nose heavy there, which is a good sign. And by the way, if you're ever unsure on where the CG is, or you're a bit iffy on your CG when it comes to a maiden of a model, always make it nose heavy, okay? You can't go wrong with nose heavy, it just means you need to put a little bit more up in it than normal. But with that said, we did fit that decent sized battery in there. It has gone in there. It's gone in there, but we are definitely nose heavy, so that battery most likely needs to go back a bit. 1300 milliampere 3S battery with a 2000 kV. 10 minutes worth of flight time, maybe longer if you're perhaps a little bit easier on the sticks, maybe less if you're a bit more stick happy, like some of us might be. So anyway, it is time for me to wrap up. If I have missed your question as they've been coming in, I do apologise. I will go back and watch this episode myself. Now, a shameless plug for another live episode, which is happening in 24 minutes. We have the full-size Sky Hunter. This size of this thing is bonkers. And we'll be doing a like-for-like comparison. Well, we'll be doing a size comparison of the full-size Sky Hunter against the mini Sky Hunter and the micro Sky Hunter. And once you see the size differential in this thing, it's massive. Absolutely bonkers. So we got that one coming live in about 24 minutes time. Obviously, if you're watching this in the future and you're watching a recorded version, check the YouTube channel for the unboxing of the Sky Hunter, because again, that one turned up in the EU Banggood warehouse. Happy fucking days! And it's ironically, it's already been here for 2.5 days, and I've literally only opened it up this morning. So you are going to get a 12.5-year-old Matt very shortly chatting about a full-size Sky Hunter, because I've always wanted one of those, and it's been the price which has been to put me off, and now they're an awful lot cheaper because they have been brought into the EU warehouse. So that's classed as happy days. With that said, this little dart looks like a bundle of fun. Can't wait to take it out and cane its nuts off. So with that said, it's time for me to go. I would like to say a massive thank you to you for taking the time to join me for this live episode. And remember, if you did catch the recorded version, no stress, any questions at all, please just ask in the comments section underneath this video. And with that said, it's time for me to go. I think I've covered all the questions which I've seen anyway. Yeah. Could you do pros or cons to wrap this up? So, Slipler, actually, I will do the pros and cons very, very quickly. First thoughts. Number one, it isn't a hollow wing construction on the wing. That's classed as happy days. I don't like the connectors in the middle. I would have preferred servo leads, to be brutally honest. I know they're cruder, they're not as posh as the little clips which we've got in there, but personally I would have preferred servo connectors. Also, let's stay on the negative side, it is a small model, okay? This isn't for perhaps aimed at somebody who's retired and is losing their eyesight, okay? Let's be brutally honest here. It has a distinctive wings profile or silhouette in the sky, but that said, just because of the nature of the model, if you like slow flying, relaxed model flying, this wing is definitely not for you. However, if you're the complete reverse of that, and like smaller models which are perhaps a little bit skitty, and you like FPV, then perhaps that might be up your street. But do keep in the back of your mind, we always hold off final judgment on these models until we've been out and flown them, because we just don't know what they're going to be like until we get them into the sky. And remember, you're going to get the raw kind of opinions, because I bought this one out of my own cash. You know, if it's good, you're going to get thumbs up from Matt. If it's not so good, perhaps like that Reptile S670, you'll also find out about it as well, because that, like I said back at the beginning, we're in a very good time at the moment. There are so many different models out there. It's finding out which ones are the good ones and which ones are the bad ones. And thankfully, and I hope, fingers crossed, touch wood, This one is not one of the bad ones. I don't think it is going to be. I've seen some other videos of these things flying around and they look pretty good. So, yeah. But, keep it in the back of your mind, we do keep off final judgment until we get the model in the sky. Also, Slipper, we didn't actually mention price is an issue as well. I've bought the plug and play kit, so I know mine was more expensive because it came with the components, which, frankly, for me, is brilliant because I'm time poor at the moment. Okay, and that may seem daft, but I am time poor at the moment. I've got a full-size Sky Hunter. I've got a replacement S-Back over there. I've got 3 more models down here, and I've got a stash of models down there which are broken and need repairing. So a plug and play kit for me right now is actually value for money because it means I can get to the flight line faster. Whereas for you, there is a kit version. Excuse me. I believe there is a kit version available. We will get into the topic of price. You'll need to check Banggood for the latest pricing. And again, do shop around because prices do differ between the different sites as well. And the other thing, frankly, I would like to see it a little bit cheaper. It's not the biggest model in the world. It's well engineered. Let's not knock it from that point of view. One pants. How did I miss that? There you go. How's that for? I was about to say well engineered. How well engineered is that? 2 little struts there in the elevon control surface for a maximum stiffness in the elevon, which is definitely something which you want. So, yeah, there are definitely some positive sides to this kit. The one negative, which I would probably say, is that I do feel it's a little bit expensive for what it is. Okay, there's a lot of other models which are around a similar size, perhaps a little bit bigger, for similar kind of money or less money, which you are frankly going to have a similar amount of fun with. So, like I said, it's a buyer's market out there at the moment. We are spoilt very much for choice, and models, they need to perform. They need to fit our purposes and of the many different flying styles which are out there. So, hey ho. This one, small, hopefully skitty, FPV, right up my street. Excuse me. So I am very, very much looking forward to flying this one. So, Slipper, I hope that helps you. Let's have a quick look. Pear Butch says weight. I don't know on the final weight. What I would do is a shameless plug for the Facebook group after this live session, and again after the full-size Sky Hunter session. What I'll do is that I'll put all the components in here which I'm going to use. I'll get it weighed up and I'll post a photograph and the weight in the Facebook group. If you've not seen the Rag the Nuts Off Facebook group, in the video description at the very bottom there's a link to facebook.com/groups/Rag the Nuts Off, and you could join over 1,800 cool pilots like me and you in that group. So with that said, it's time for me to go. As I was saying earlier, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this episode. And yeah, looking forward to flying this one, hopefully by the end of the week. So with that said, for myself, Matt, cheerios!